Hey, this is Stacia, and I'm going to share a game that I played at the Parma Chess Club against Jim Nix, a strong player who's been over 2000. Currently, he's about 1850, but he's very strategically adept. And, well, it's always a pleasure to play such a strong player. So, in this game, I went pawn to e4 with the white pieces. He went e5. And I went knight to f3, knight c6, and bishop to c4. We've had this position many times, and usually he would play bishop to c5, and I would play b4. And we would go for Evans' Gambit. But I was pleased to see that he was scared of my Evans' Gambit. You know, when people are not wanting to go into your gambit line where you're giving them a pawn, like, that's a good sign, I feel. It's a small psychological victory for me. So he went knight to f6, but unfortunately for him, I'm not boring, so I did not play pawn to d3, allowing for a very slow strategic battle. Instead, I went pawn to d4, and this is my main move in this position. And now black should take the pawn. I mean, if they take this pawn and we take here, you should be aware of kind of a normal trap line idea, which is after bishop c5, which looks pretty damaging. You know, white has this move queen to d5. You got to be aware of this because that threatens checkmate and also attacks the bishop and the knight. And like black is free to take an f2. I literally don't care. I'll just play king e2 because I'm still threatening checkmate. You got to do something about that. Like if they just castle to avoid being checkmated, we're just going to win a full piece. And now the bishop's hanging. This is just winning for white because we're out material. So keep that in mind. So really you cannot just grab that pawn without thinking about these things. Now, if you don't play that exact way, you might be okay, but it's risky. Let me put it that way. So instead, he took the pawn. I just simply castled because I have no interest in winning my pawn back. I'm interested in activity. So after bishop to c5, which is not the main move. The main move is to take this, in which case I'll play rook e1. And after d5, sack the bishop, takes, and knight c3, and queen h5. Notice you cannot take the knight because I would have taken the queen. So that's what I normally see. But after bishop z5, I usually play e5. And we enter maxling attack territory after the move d5. So this is a counterattack on my bishop, right? So he's attacking my bishop and I'm attacking his knight. And it's my turn. So I take the knight. Okay, he takes my bishop. Okay, now I take here. Now I'm attacking the rook. So what are you going to do? I'm going to take your rook with check and make a queen. Got to do something about that. So rook g8. So it's a very forcing move. Now rook e1, also a very forcing move. And he played bishop to e6, blocking that. And I went bishop to g5. I'm attacking your queen. What are you going to do? Now, I play this move mostly because I want black to play something like queen d5. And I think the queen is getting awfully vulnerable here. There's a lot of ideas. Like, for example, I could play knight c3 right away. And if you take this, I will take your queen. And notice that it's a mean computer because that bishop's pinned. So I just won the game. So you can't take that knight. You would have to go queen f5. I mean, and once you're in this kind of position, that queen is very short in squares. Like I would probably go knight to e4 to save my knight. I'm like putting pressure on this bishop here. And I'm also threatening this check in some situations. And I'm also defending the bishop. Like this knight is just awesome here on e4. And let's say they just take the rook. I mean, or take the pawn back. I think I could just go here, right? I'm attacking the queen again. Like, what do you do? I'm pretty sure that the queen is trapped and it's game over. So, anyway, just an idea I wanted to share. But, so that means that you shouldn't move the queen. In fact, the best move is bishop to e7. So after this, pretty much I got to take. I don't think I should not take. Moving again seems wrong. Let's take, which is what I did in the game. Because now black has sort of a weird decision to make. They can take with the queen, but if they do that, I will win this pawn back, right? I can play knight takes d4. And let's say they castle, pinning me. Well, I would literally not care. And this is just theory that I kind of know. You can play knight takes knight here. Yeah, I'm sacrificing my queen, but the reason I don't care is because I take your queen with check. It's a fork, and I'm going to recapture the rook. So this is winning for white. So the fact that that knight takes knight move is there means that that is not so great for them to play queen takes, but it is playable. There's definitely other ways to go there. But if they take with the king, obviously their king is like very weird here. But there's actually this really like weird idea that black has here to play king f6 and recapture the pawn with the king. Like, it's just such a strange idea, but it kind of works. And then the king can hide in h8, and it's like they're going to have the open g file. They can just place their pieces on the g file, just stack up there, attack g2, and just attack the king side in general. So there's ideas for black there with this king move. And so apparently Jim Nix knew about this, which I did not. So I was on my own here, and I played knight to a3. It's not the most precise. Turns out that rook e4 is the main line, which just concretely attacks a pawn, but it also like has two other ideas. One is to maybe go over here and attack this weakness, and the other one is to just triple on the e file. Both seem like useful moves. So I like rook e4 a lot in hindsight. I went knight a3. I'm just trying to develop. And I also had the idea to maybe go b3 and take on c4. But it didn't really materialize because I got scared to play b3 here for some reason. So I went queen e2. And then after king d7, stepping out of the pin, I went rook a d1. Looks to me like a lazy move, but I was spending a lot of time in the last few moves, and I couldn't find anything like concrete. So, although I do think that the move b3 is super interesting here. Like, could I play this? If they go c3, I feel like that would give us this knight c4 move, and also queen d3, and the pawns are blockaded, and the d4 pawn, I want to make it red. Can I make it red? Where's red? There it is. Yay. Oh, wait. Okay. Sort of red. So I want that pawn to be like a permanent weakness. But even with that, like, could they somehow move the knight and play c5? And then it's not. So, yeah, a lot of ideas here. And I'm a little scatterbrained with that. But after knight e3, queen d5 is the best move. And after queen e2, there was king d7. So he chose not to try and recapture that pawn, but simply step out of the pin. And now I go rook a d1, and I really do like this alignment, by the way. I like when a queen and a king are on the same file as my rook, because it's going to take 2 turns to get them both out of the way. So he did take the pawn here, but I had an idea. So I thought long here, and actually, sometimes they say long think, wrong think. This might be an example of that because I played knight takes c4. I'm sacrificing the knight, but I thought this was just tactically winning the pawn because I thought after queen takes, I could play here, which is a check, forking the king and the queen. That is very forcing. They must take, and now I would play queen takes e5. That is forking the rook. And also I'm threatening rook takes d4. Now I saw this from a distance a bit, a few moves ago, not a distance. So I thought that was quite good. Now the engine's telling me I'm full of it, and it says, that black actually has an amazing resource here, which I actually did consider during the game. And my opponent didn't go for this, but it's rook takes g2. And also, National Master Michael Jolson gave this move an analysis like in less than like 3 seconds. Because this is a real move. It's a forcing move, right? So it's a desperado in a way, or intermezzo, whatever you call it. I mean, if you're going to lose the rook anyway, you might as well take on g2. But then you have check, right? This other rook gets into the game. This queen's defending f1. Now I must go king h1. I mean, it looks like I'm almost checkmated, right? I'm like, now what? Well, I'm still threatening rook takes d4, but they have time now to play c5. And now both my threats have been parried. Now, black had to sack material, but they're down in exchange, and my king is very unsafe. My queen seems a little vulnerable. And, like, I don't know what to do here. I really don't. I mean, can I play rook g1? I kind of doubt it. Black can take here, and then these pawns are, like, massive. So, okay, you get the point. This is, like... I mean, computer says it's better for black. That's what I'm saying. And that is surprising, but not too surprising. So in the game, when I took the knight, he really should have taken, and you have to see all of that. And when you're looking in the future and you're worried about certain things, like, it's not so easy to calculate lines like that. But my opponent should have taken my knight, and he did not. He played rook a to g8. Okay, so now I can play, well, I played g3, which is a blunder, because now he can take that knight, which he does do. Okay, but what should have happened is knight c to e5. So let's understand that move. I don't understand it, but let's try. Okay, it's a check. I know it's a check. Am I going to take here? I think so. I think we're threatening to take the knight and then take here. That is the idea. So it gives knight takes e5, which would parry that. And then we could play knight takes e5 check. And then king c8, and they can just hide. And it says this position's like slightly better for white. Okay, so I'm scared though, because there's tons of pressure here. So I would have to go g3, and then, maybe bishop h3, and they're threatening me. So that's kind of scary. So I would have to go queen e4 and block. And now the question is this endgame good? I mean, I don't know. I can't calculate this far in a rapid game because there's other options along the way, and I'm not going to see all that. And neither did my opponent. So after knight takes c4, my opponent actually played rook a g8, and I played g3, which is literally a blunder. Now they can take my knight, which he did. So now I'm actually completely lost. But I saw this during the game, but I also thought I'm only lost if my opponent finds the right move. So I played knight takes d4. And in this position, it's honestly desperation, because it's like, I know I'm losing. If he plays queen takes queen, I think I'm just toast. I think I am, because, like, what do I do now? If I go here, he can just, like, take on d4. And when I take back, I mean, probably king c8, right? Like, I've got nothing now, and in fact, I'm just down a piece. And I might even lose a pawn. Like, I don't know. I think this is just terrible. So I thought queen takes queen, and I'm just lost. And to my surprise, my opponent played knight takes d4. And I think this is the game-losing move, because if you give me a second chance like that, I can find the right moves, And here I played queen takes queen, bishop takes queen, and of course, rook takes d4. And this is a fork. I'm going to win that piece back. And then I'm going to be up a pawn in the endgame. So king c8 takes f6. Yeah, and Jim Nick said after the game that he saw this threat, but then like somehow he did it anyway. And I can relate to that. I do that sometimes too. Like I'll see a threat, then I'll think a long time, calculate things, and then forget about that particular thing. So like he did that. So rook ce4, rook d7, but I felt very confident in this position because I'm up a pawn, but it's more than that. My rooks are more active, dominating the e-file and ready to infiltrate. And these pawns are split, which means that, especially this f6 pawn, but even the h7 pawn, they're both very weak. And I could win one of those pawns. Once I win one of these pawns, I'm going to have 3 versus 1 over here on the king side. So that should be winning. And I felt very confident. And even though I had like less than 2 minutes, I did find the way to win. I checked. I take here to make his rook go away. And then rook e7. Now I'm attacking a pawn. He played h5, or h6 rather. So I just went h4 here. I mean, why not? I actually did calculate if he goes rook d8, which he did, I think. Yeah, I can go king f1. Yeah, and I thought he should really go here. But then I just go rook e2. And if you wanted to check me, I could just go here. And I thought this is fine. I'm actually just in control here and winning. And something similar happened. We played those moves first, then here. Check, here, here. Yeah, because if he takes my rook, I'm just winning, right? Like I'm up a pawn and a king of pawn ending. I'm going to win this. So he can't really trade. So I agreed to a draw, right? No, of course not. I repeated and then played king g2. Attack this pawn. I moved it. Okay, let's go here. And then, yeah, and then I like king e3 because king e3 just threatens rook d2 check, forcing the trade, and then I'm winning because I'm a pawn up in a king of pawn endgame. So he goes king c6, and now I can go king f4. And it was in this position that my opponent actually resigned because I'm about to come up, start eating pawns, nom nom nom, and then push my pawns. And it's really difficult for him to do anything. I mean, my rook's kind of holding everything together. It's going to take a long time for him to come down and actually do anything. So I thought it was a pretty interesting game, but I actually was losing, and that's why I'm showing it, because I want to learn from it. And so it's really came down to this position here. Yeah, and I got lucky that he played knight takes knight instead of queen takes queen, because queen takes queen is just winning. So once again, if he does take my queen, I take, he takes, take, check. I'm not winning a piece like in the other variation, and this is completely lost. So, I mean, that's a pretty big oversight, and I feel like my opponent kind of let me go on this one. But I also learned this new idea that I don't have to go knight a3. I should go rook e4, and they can go f5. This is actually a move, but I can just slide my rook over. And then they can go rook takes g7. And then I could play, it says knight takes d4. Yeah, I mean, that rook continues to be a force along the 4th rank. So that's the new idea I learned. It's just one step in the future, but sometimes that's good enough. So I hope you guys enjoy the video, and I'll be back with more chess. Okay.